Hello, and welcome to Inner Work for Greater Good. My name is Emily Eldridge. I am your host of Inner Work for Greater Good. I'm also the founder of Change Light and the creator of the Change Light system, where we teach you how to do inner work that accelerates your power to feel good and do good, to make whatever difference that it is that you are here to make, that you desire to make in the world. Today is a big topic, and it's something that I've had to learn to do a lot. Lately, I think in the past couple of episodes, I've talked about divine timing and like trusting in timing, and that there's a timing that's kind of beyond our control or our reach or our grasp. And sometimes you just have to go with the flow, as they say, and just go with what is and just trust that things are happening according to the right timing. Well, I'm going to talk about a similar topic. And the term that I want to use is surrender, because a lot of that's a lot of what we're talking about here. And so I want to, so it's like, what is surrender? And also, I'll share a few stories about what I've discovered when I've had to surrender. Now, the reason why this is a topic that I wanted to talk about this week, as always, is because it's been something in my life this week. Lately, let me put it this way, that for the past few weeks, the woman who works with me, who's one of my dearest friends, and sadly has had a lot of health issues. And I'm only sharing this because she has also shared it publicly. She's had a lot of health issues, and she ended up in the hospital for a period of time. And the thing is, we had all these plans about what we were going to create and all these deadlines. We were going to do this by this date and this by this date. And we really had it all worked out. I mean, we really, just before she went to the hospital, she like created this schedule for us, and it was just fabulous. And it was like, okay, so I was all on my on track with my targets. So then, let me pull this down a little bit. So then she'd already been having some health issues that were just inexplicable. It was very weird. It was like one thing after another. And then all of a sudden she ends up in the hospital. So I kind of went, okay, you know what? I'm just going to keep doing my part, and then maybe she'll catch up, or maybe, we may have to move some things. I don't know, but I'm just going to keep doing what I know I can do. So I kept going. And, and was completely just really wanted her to take her time, because I know how it goes with health issues. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit in terms of why they taught me to surrender. And that, just really wanted her to focus on her healing. So we didn't talk about work. I was just there for her. She's in another country, so we were only virtual, unfortunately, through, WhatsApp and stuff. But the point is, that happened, but I was like, well, no, I'm good. I'm going to stay on track with my stuff, so at least I can get my part of the work done. And then Wednesday night, the night before Thanksgiving here in the United States, I fell down the stairs at the subway, 23rd Street Station, 23rd and Park Avenue. I was coming from a meeting with someone, and about the last 5 steps, all of a sudden, just boom, my leg slipped out from under me. I landed on my back and my side and my arm. Thank God I did not land on my head. Thank God I did not hit my spine. Okay, so blessings. But the point is, I landed really, really hard. And it was one of those it takes the wind out of you. And it's like, oh my God, am I okay? And so the point is, it was a pretty bad fall. And I'm sitting on the stairs, and nobody was coming, which I thought was weird because it's usually really busy. But it took me a minute. I'm sitting on the stairs kind of going, okay, can I get home? Or should I call an ambulance or something? What should I do? The bottom line is, I finally was able to get up. I hobbled my way home, got home. My husband put ice packs on me. We took care of it. But my point is, I ended up being in pretty severe pain and hobbling around for that entire weekend. Now, I'd had all these plans, right, about what I was going to do and create in terms of my work. And of course, we also had some social fun stuff to do as well. And so what ended up happening was I was actually able to achieve the social things that we had to do, but I had to really scale back on other stuff. And that included, I had to scrap some work plans that I had. And so here you've got the gal, there are only 2 of us at Change Light right now. And you've got the gal who works for me, who is like a powerhouse, and she's amazing. And then you've got me, and she's in the hospital and completely not able to do anything. And then here I am in pain and trying to just rest and not, work or push too hard or anything. And so basically the point is, it's as they say, even what do they say? The best laid plans, whatever. There's a term about that. But of course, there's the other term, which is, when we make plans, God laughs. And so I really sat there thinking, okay, then. And I've learned from experience, don't fight it. Don't argue with it. Don't try to push through it. Don't try to necessarily get around it. When these things happen, they happen, and they often happen for a reason. And there's no point in trying to fight them. And I mean that also, especially when it comes to health. I've learned from deep, long experience that trying to push through with when you've got a health problems, or try to, push things to happen when clearly the universe or something is saying, no, 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 you need to slow this down. You need to relax, you need to back it up, and then just pivot, readjust, find other ways of moving forward, or just surrendering. And ultimately, those surrendering to what is. So this is why this has been a topic for me, because I've had to remember, and actually, luckily, it's actually becomes a skill when things like this happen. Like, I didn't freak out, I didn't get upset, I didn't get angry, I didn't get like, dang it, what I was going to do. No, because I know from experience, there's no point in getting upset about what is. And there's no point in trying to push through as though something didn't happen, or as though your body is functioning like it normally does. It's just no point. So then the point is that it reminded me, or I was able to be in a place of acceptance and go, okay, then I guess we're going to have to change our plans here and not be upset about it. But then it also led to a conversation that I had with the gal who works with me for me about surrender, because her situation is so extreme, the thing that she's had to deal with, and she's going to be fine. She's going to be okay, but it's a recovery process. But it's so extreme that basically I ultimately said to her, I think that you're going to learn a lot from this. You're going to grow a lot. I think it'd be important to notice what you experience and what changes you notice in terms of your perspectives, etc. I said, I know it's really scary because, her life could have been threatened. So I said, I know it's really scary, but it's also interesting how this could be happening for a reason and that there's some growth. And one of the things I mentioned to her was surrender, that this is an opportunity to surrender to what is. And then I texted with her about that a bit. And ultimately she said, thank you. I really needed to hear this right now, because she is a go-getter. She is a get stuff done. She is amazing. It's one of the things why I love working with her. She has a great heart, but also she is just kick-ass. She gets things done. But that this is really about surrender. Or at least that's what I mentioned to her, that surrender could be a big part of this for her as well. And then I spoke as someone who I've had a lot of experiences with surrender. So here's how I would just quickly define surrender. I want to make it clear that surrender is, I'm going to use two terms: give up and give in. It's giving up and it's giving in. So before I get into some of the double meanings of that, I like to think of surrender as a state of deep acceptance. Usually it has to do with when we're surrendering to what is. We have to deeply accept that this is what is. So what does that mean? That means letting go of control. And if anything, when things like this happen, it can also be a reminder that, yeah, we think we have control, total control, but sometimes we don't. So it's deep acceptance, it's letting go of control, or recognizing that you're not the only one in control here, and also a deep state of trust. And this is what I've had, this is the part that I found to be difficult sometimes when it comes to surrender. Trusting that everything is going according to some plan is one way of looking at it, that may not be your plan, but it's a better plan than the one that you may have set out for yourself. Also trusting in timing, that maybe now is not the time to be doing what you thought you were supposed to be doing. It's trusting that whatever has just happened is ultimately can have positive results for you. So there's a lot of layers inside of surrender: acceptance, letting go of control, and trust. These can be really, really, really hard to do, especially for those of us who are change makers, who are all about trying to make a difference, who are all about helping other people, who are all about getting things done. But I explain this, I say this as someone who, as I've said, I've had to go through many, many, many years and many different periods of deep surrender. And it was hard and it hurt, but it came as a result of my own health problems and my own emotional problems, where I couldn't function as normal. I couldn't sometimes get out of bed. I couldn't work. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't. And so it forced me, because anytime it forced me to surrender, because here was the thing: anytime I tried to do the opposite, which was to try to push through or to try to affect change or do something, it would backfire. There'd be a backlash. And then I would either, it'd fall apart even more, or I'd create more pain and struggle for myself. And so it taught me this very over and over and over again. I felt like the universe was teaching me a very important lesson of surrender. And implicit in that is letting go of control and trust. Just trust. Surrender to what is, let go of trying to control everything, and trust that there is a higher plan, a higher power, that there are forces, there are things happening that you may not even see around you, but that this is a necessary period right now that you need to go through in order to maybe prepare you for a bigger purpose, but also to allow you to and to grow, but also because maybe now, whatever plan you had is not actually the plan that really is in service of the highest good, your highest good or other people's highest good. So I'm going to use the terms again: give up and give in. Here's what I like about both of those terms. When we think of surrender, often we think of, I give up. I want to make it clear, I don't see surrender as resignation, like, oh, there's no point. There's kind of a negative implication in that. But giving up, now look at what you do when we give up. When we give up, look at what my hands are doing. Giving up. So within surrender is that I give up, but not from the point of view of resignation, like, oh, there's no point and everything I do sucks and I'm a failure. No, it's okay, I give up. I've been trying too hard on my own. I have been struggling. I have been controlling what I thought I could control. But since I'm realizing that I'm not in as much control, or that there are forces that I just have to accept right now, or circumstances that I just need to accept what is right now, I give up. Notice my hands. I give up. And the way I see that, and this again came out of my own period of surrender where I was like, I give up, was I'm giving up. I am letting go of trying to control, and I'm accepting what is, and I'm trusting. I'm actually putting some of my trust in, whether you want to call it God, the universe, the mighty I am, the all that is, whatever. But you're giving up. You're basically saying, I don't have all the answers, or I don't know what's next, or I don't know how to overcome this, or I just can't do this anymore. Especially, I just can't do it alone. I give up. Isn't that cool? Surrender is giving up. It's also giving in. Think about this when you talk about surrendering to something, you're giving in. You might be giving in. So some people might say, like, well, I finally just surrendered to, this person's da-da-da-da-da. Okay, you gave in. But another way of looking at it, I give in. I give in. When I surrender, I'm saying I accept what is, I can't control, I'm trusting, but it's also an opportunity to go inside and to listen rather than to the cacophony outside, or being pulled this way or that way, or trying to continue to do things outwardly. Give in. Trust, listen, tune in. Use this as an opportunity to tune in to what is your truth telling you? What is your wisdom telling you? What can you do even within this space that may be different than what you thought, but that feels right, as opposed to going according to whatever timeline you've set, or whatever your analytical mind is saying, well, this is what we have to do. What if you were to listen within, to what your intuition and your wisdom and your truth knows. And listen to that and follow that, and not feel like you have to constantly be pushing or doing, but really surrendering to what's inside, which I've had to do a lot, as I mentioned. So give up, give in. I have, one of the things I shared with this woman who works with me for me, she's really one of my dearest friends. It feels weird to even call her that, but we are working on Change Light together, is that I mentioned two of the biggest parts of my own work that came from surrendering, directly from surrender. And in my case, they came from surrendering to my pain, surrendering to the reality that I couldn't function at the same level as I wanted to, as I normally could. And it was in those moments when I surrendered to the pain that and I say pain, I mean physical pain, I mean emotional pain, I mean the reality of not being able to work or do anything. And I surrendered, that what happened was I went into this deep space of acceptance of being, and I got amazing messages. So one of the messages, and I've talked about this in probably a previous episode, maybe more than one, I don't remember, but is the concept of guiding star, of an inner guiding star. So even in my work, there's so much evidence of surrender, and that guiding star was a download I got that just said guiding star. And it was basically the inner mentor that we each have, that is the example of our optimal self, of our highest self, of who we are capable of being, to inspire us and guide us to live our own truth and to be as free and as whole and healthy and radiant as we possibly can be. Guiding star came. I remember exactly the afternoon that it happened, but it happened. And it came in, but it was only because I surrendered, that there was space. This is how I see it. Because I surrendered, because I stopped fighting, because I stopped pushing, because I stopped, just fighting against the pain that I was feeling, and accepting the reality. And actually in that moment, another thing I asked for too was I needed help. I allowed space for that help and that wisdom and the downloads, if you will, to come in. But it was only when I stopped fighting and I surrendered. Another one that was actually previous to that was the one I received that said world leaders, that your purpose here is to work with world leaders. I got that when I actively surrendered. I wasn't trying to get a message. I was just in so much excruciating physical and emotional pain that I had no choice. I'm like, I can't fight this pain anymore. So I just said, I surrender. And I just gave up and went into the pain, gave in to the pain. And then it was in that moment I went to a space of no body, just literally felt no body, just such an incredible peace. And then boom, world leaders. And again, as I see it, is when we surrender, when we stop fighting, when we stop trying too hard, when we stop pushing so hard, when we stop trying to force things to be the way we want them to be, when we allow, when we accept, when we let go of control and we trust, then we're actually opening space for the powers that want to help us and support us, that are trying to guide us. We allow space and opening for the wisdom that's always here for us inside, and maybe sometimes coming from somewhere else, but it's there. And so that's what it really is about with surrender. I want to also recommend something else. If you really want to dive into surrender, Gabby Bernstein, I once heard, I think she did a TED talk or an Oprah talk or something about surrender. And she talked about the 5 steps of surrender. Really, really good. I highly recommend looking that up. Gabby Bernstein, the 5 stages or steps or something of surrender. Highly recommend it. All right, that's it for me. But I guess what I would leave you with is to notice an area in your life where maybe you are trying too hard. Maybe you're pushing too fast. Maybe you're trying too much to control something you can't control. What if you were to allow yourself to surrender? Surrender to what is, accept in this moment that this is what it is, give up and give in, and allow the other forces that are around you and within you to do their job, to bring forward their wisdom and their light and their clarity, so that moving forward, you can move forward with greater peace and ease and clarity and less struggle and suffering and resistance and pressure. So consider surrender as something you allow in your life, that you maybe even actively cultivate more of in your life, so that so that you can discover the magic of what happens when you stop trying to do it all yourself, and you allow space for others, the seen and the unseen, to show up and support you and enable you to actually do things in a more effective and higher way. And maybe even it will open avenues for your truth that you didn't even know were there, as that's what happened to me. All right. So thank you so much. As always, I hope this has been helpful. Come to changelight.world, and you can always email me, Emily@changelight.world. I always love to hear from you. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a great week. Until we see each other again next week. Bye.